Awesome. So we're back. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning back into True Print for Life podcast. As you know, I'm Maylin, and I have my amazing guest, Erica Banks, with us. So we're just coming back for that break. For those of you that listened to the first part and came back with us, so exciting. If you missed it, don't worry, go back and listen to that.
Yes.
After this. But yeah, so in the last episode, before the break, we were talking about kind of like your journey, right? Like from young person and having those dreams to getting married, right? Like you were doing all the things. You went to school, you went to college, losing your baby at such a young age for the baby and you, right? And how traumatizing that was. And, maybe having someone that's super supportive also at that time that made your trauma almost multiply, right? And not get the help that you needed, right? But then you don't deal with that, and then you continue life, because as women, we're not told to stop and heal. We're told, like, suck it up and just continue, because you're a mother. You're supposed to be there for your kids. You're supposed to continue. Okay, you lost a kid. Okay, well, a lot of people want to tell you all these different things that happen to other people, but really this happened to me. Mm-hmm. I'm still broken. I'm still dealing with this loss. It's your first baby. Yeah. And no matter if it's your first or your second, your third, like no matter what it is in the number of your children, losing a child is difficult.
Absolutely.
And unless you have been through it, you can't even explain it. Mm-mm. Okay, so I will say that. I admire you because you continue to survive, right? Because you weren't thriving, you were surviving. Mm-hmm. And for that period of your time, I want to thank God for that, because sometimes we don't thank the surviving, but the surviving is needed, right?
Yes.
So for that period, you had to survive to kind of cope with the pain. You come home and you get surprised by somebody just walks out. Like, you went to the park. You come back and this person was like, well, bye. You're like, what in the Lord?
Right.
No, something that probably wasn't perfect. It wasn't good, but it was familiar. It was comfortable in its mess. Mm-hmm. Right? Which is what abusive relationships are. You're comfortable in a toxic environment, because this is what you know, and you're so afraid of the unknown. Mm-hmm. And they have made you believe that without them, you're going to die. That you're like, I'm just going to stay here. Even though I'm feeling like I'm dying, but I'm not going to die. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stay here, right?
Right.
So this person walks out of your life believing that he's going to destroy you. And at the end of the day, it was a favor that he really did to you, because that you were never going to get him out, because at the moment you couldn't. So he had to leave, right?
Right.
And that was God's way many times, right? To remove toxic from my life.
True.
And he has to do it the hard way, because we as women want to fix everything, guys. We just want to fix it all.
Right.
We're like, no.
We got it. We know this. We know how to do this.
I will heal him, okay? My prayers are going to heal him. And God be like, I didn't tell you that.
Right.
God be listening, looking at us like, you're not God. Stop trying to do my job.
I say many times, I'm like, I know God, and my guardian angels are like, oh my God, this girl.
They'll be like, there's a meme with Kevin Hart where he's like, I want to heal him, God. And then Kevin Hart will be like, hey, come back. Hey, come here.
And there have been times, and that's just me. And I've come to learn too, a lady, because I just went to a training, trauma training held by OSU this past Wednesday. And one of the ladies said, I'm so proud of you. And I said, well, thank you. She said, I want to share something with you. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, remember, hurt people, but healed people heal. And it blew me away, because I've had people come to me, whether I'm working or I've been out in public, and I've had people, and it's actually happened since I was a small child, but even now a lot more, and they'll open up and they'll share. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I don't even know where that came from. And then I'm left with, it's not that I'm just falling on deaf ears. I'm hearing it, but then the wheels are turning. Mm-hmm. How do I fix it? Perfect stranger.
Yes.
And I remember listening to a motivational speaker by the name of Lisa Nichols. And she said, before I can be rescued, I got to stop being rescue 911 for everybody else. I got to do me. I got to check me. Yes. Because I'm so quick and I'm hearing. And so I'm like, okay, let's do. Mm-hmm. I know where that comes from, because when I've gone through things, I've had people either give unsolicited advice, or it was, you're hearing me and then you're just telling me, well, go do. Well, I'm hearing you. Well, let's come up with a plan. Now, in this plan, I'm gonna give you some resources. You know what I mean? And that's just me. And so I want to circle back shortly before the break when you said we as women. That's where the advocacy comes from. That's another reason why I want to mentor. If we as older, seasoned in age women can take the time and talk to the younger generation, have these conversations, like pull the seat up at the table. It doesn't matter your age. We can hear, they can open up and talk to us. We need to make ourselves approachable. Available too. And then have these conversations, because if it can start at a younger age, then we're just making these young girls a lot stronger. Not saying nothing about our young men. They need it too.
They do.
My purpose in what God has placed on my heart is absolutely our youth. Absolutely the young people, but even women. So that's what I wanted to touch base on, is not just women, but even the young girls.
Absolutely.
Because there were things I can remember growing up, and this thing of, and people say it now, oh, well, he's just doing that because he likes you. That's not okay.
Oh my God.
That's not okay.
I almost got killed because he liked me. This boy pushed me so hard. I landed on my knees and scratched I almost died. And they was like, well, he likes you. I said, why I don't want him to like me then.
Right.
But you learned that though. That's a seed that's planted.
Yes. But you see what I'm saying? And
yes.
I get that. I understand that it may be just something, a generational thing, or that saying, boys will be boys. Some of the things we need to stop making excuses for, or saying it's okay. It's not always okay.
No. And we're not helping these young men too, because it's not for every man. Because guys, it's not we hate men. So people they hate men. She has a beautiful son that I love, and I'm a mother of a baby boy, and I have a nephew, right? And I have my brother's my best friend also, and I love men. Okay, if I didn't, so being a feminist doesn't mean that I had to explain to my stepfather. It's not that I hate men. It's that I love women so much, and I need men to help us. But I have nothing against men.
We need you as our ally.
Yes, I have nothing against men.
No, not at all.
But the people were like, you hate him? No, but if we don't stop the societal norms that we have placed on them, then we're not even helping them, right? So if boys will be boys, what does that mean? That he gets to be disrespectful? Same thing with girls. Like if a girl does that, it's bad too, right? So it's not like it's okay for both, but
true.
If we don't help the men, because we're just gonna let them be, they have to be like this. We have already seen what that's done for boys, and it has not helped them at all, right? It's like, well, you're a man, don't cry. Let the guy cry, right? Like now we're trying to help men cry, because when they were little, you didn't let them cry. So when I hear somebody saying to a boy, well, don't cry, you're a man, I say, excuse me, cry, right? Let's talk about it. Let me help you process your emotions.
Yes. Because otherwise, it's going to be suppressed.
And it's going to become anger.
And that young man is going to become older. And that's, for me, emotional intelligence.
Yes.
But it is okay, because man or woman, girl or boy, we need to have these conversations, these resources, and show them. Okay, it's okay.
Yes.
Like some of the young girls that I'm grateful that I'm able to be in a pilot program for mentorship to talk to some freshman high school girls. I love the candor. I got to brace myself sometimes, because I'm like, okay.
Girl, what is okay? You're like, what do you know? What did you say?
They come in, and of course it's still getting to know and build. But when the young ladies, like one of the topics that we just recently had with them is, why do they feel like the violence is the answer? And the shocking, consistent response was, it is almost like it gets them attention. It's almost like a popularity thing. It's almost what makes them cool.
They can go viral. God help us.
But in that generation, to them, that's like my 5 minutes of fame.
It's acceptance. They want it. That's how they look for validation and acceptance.
And it's almost like in a wave to them like fame.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it can go viral, and they don't care.
They don't.
They don't
And
care.
not all. We're not generalizing,
Not all. No,
right?
no,
There's
no.
certain individuals.
Yes. Like one lady in the group, like she just shared. She was like, I just have an older spirit, I just have an older soul. So she's like, I'll walk away and I ignore it. But she then gets, by some of the other, kids, she then gets picked on her label. So then how do you deal with that? I think that takes a strong individual. I don't care what age you are. If there is a heated situation, to be like, okay, I'm okay, for lack of a better choice of words, I'm going to take this L. You got it. You won in your mind.
Yes.
But be mature enough to walk away.
Yes.
But then you're living to see another day. So
Yes.
that's another reason why I got into that. I just know when I was in elementary school, I was the girl playing kickball, playing football with the boys. I mean, I played jump rope and double dutch and tetherball, but my mom would send me with barrettes and bows and all girly. And then when I'm one ponytail's untied, the barrettes are gone. As soon as she dropped me off, the barrettes and ribbons, they were gone. They were gone. But I never will forget it, and it stuck with me even to this day. I played dodgeball, threw the ball, got a boy out. He got so mad, he took my head and did that against the wall. When I was in 6th grade, having a snowball fight, one boy, and he played baseball, took the snowball and launched it so hard, it hit me in my chest, and I ended up having an asthma attack. But let me show you how God works. This was several years ago. He reached out. He looked me up and reached out, and he said, I just want to tell you sorry.
So he's been living with that all these years.
And I had forgotten. Now the snowball, I forgot about that. That in elementary school, oh no, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Did we find him?
No. So I just said,
social media, find him. Okay, go ahead.
Not on Facebook any longer. Yay. But those types of things. I want to be there for these young ladies and even young adult women, and say it's okay. It's okay to set your boundaries. It is okay to do you. Yeah. It is okay. You know what? If that person is coming at you sideways, it may kill you inside, but it's okay not to say anything. And sometimes silence is more powerful than anything that you could ever say or do.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely grateful. It's been consistent, and it's not something that ever stops. But even people around me, like shortly after, Femergy, at first, even my kids were a little taken back. My kids are not accustomed to the word no. That's not a foreign language in my house. They know the word no. But having conversations with them, my no's were my no's. I don't have to always give you an answer. But then it was just like, wait a minute.
Who is you? Where's my mother?
They're like, wait a minute. It was almost like, like, what's going on here? Even having a conversation with them, and I told them, it was laid on my heart. And I said, I also want to tell you sorry. And they were like, Because going through the divorce, there were some things that they shared, and I heard it, wanting to keep the peace and, again, not have them feel like in the middle, doing what I felt was right. But looking back on hindsight, I don't want them to ever feel like they were never heard. And that was huge. My kids were just like shocked, but it meant a lot to them. So to see me doing the things that I'm doing now, when I got to do or asked to do the first podcast, I prayed about it. I'm not quick to say yes to anything. I'm mindful of who I'm saying yes. What is the audience? Where am I going to be?
You have to be.
And I asked the kids how they feel. Because initially the podcast was only going to be about grief and me losing my first baby. Talking about the divorce That is why I asked the kids. I said, even though it is mommy's life, it's not just mommy. We went through it. And what brought me to tears was across the board, they were all supportive. My son, however, caught me by surprise. He said, I gotta support you. He said, I just don't know how people are gonna respond to you, what they're gonna say once you speak. And I had to ask my kids because when the woman asked me to do it, I've known her since I was 16. She's the minister that gave my baby's eulogy. And I knew and I felt comfortable. I knew she wouldn't take my words and twist them, or it wouldn't be for anything other than what the true purpose and intention behind it was. And so I spent the whole day preparing, leading up to the recording. I shut everything out. I'm very mindful about that because I don't want any distractions. When I am blessed to have these opportunities, it is not about me. My goal, my prayer, and my purpose is that at least some person from this will be inspired. Some person will hear this or see this, and it will spark just enough for them to not want to commit suicide, for them not to feel like all hope is gone.
Yeah.
For them not to be walking around as what I referred to in the other podcast that I did, walking dead. You've got life and you've got purpose. We've got pain, and it's sometimes it's hard. We have to meet people where they are. So sometimes before we can get to that person getting through and they're willing and wanting to take those actionable steps, we need to be sometimes that person, if it is within us, to be that person's, whether it's their sounding board or their support system. But also learn that when people come to us in what they're going through, if we can't be that person, be honest and upfront enough to say, I cannot be there for you in the manner that you need me to be. Not coming across rude or disrespectful. You do not want to have somebody, because you don't want to speak up, I'm not comfortable. And also, you don't want them to open up and build a connection with you and then you pull back because you've decided, no, I can't, this is too much. These are some of the conversations that should be had in the very beginning because it can be very detrimental and it can also be traumatizing. You can set somebody back in their healing process or even their ability to even want to seek help, whatever that help may be. So I'm just grateful. The opportunities that have come to me, I have had people tell me time and time again, there is something in you. There is a light in you. I've had people, they're like, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way. I've been through a lot. I'm not the woman that you see on the outside. Like I have a lot of people, and this is even since I was younger. Oh my God, when I first saw you, I didn't like you. I thought you thought you was cute. You was stuck up. You couldn't be a pro.
I am cute. I'm like, I am cute, so I didn't think I was. I am
you
cute.
have no clue. And then when they get to know me, they're like, oh my God, you're so down to earth. And I'm very mindful too of sharing my testimonies too. I share it as I'm led to be of inspiration. It's not a gloating thing. That's a hard thing as a young woman. You're pregnant, you have a child, you lose a child, then you're told you can't have kids. And then each pregnancy was actually complicated. It was harder. Each one was harder, and harder. My son wasn't even supposed to live. So to talk through that, I know that there's a God in heaven. I'm not here to sway you or to talk about those things, but your faith, your hope, to try. I don't want anyone to lose that hope. And I know what it's like to cry your way through some things. I know what it's like when everything around me that I see and I hear and that I can touch just seems like it's not going to get better. But I have to, not I have to, but what I've become more conscious and more persistent and intentional about is in those moments. Reflect back on some other times when it felt like that. Remember those other times that you were down deep in the valley and it was dark. You couldn't see the daylight or the light at the end of the tunnel, but God kept you and your kids. God kept your child. God kept all of your kids. Whatever those cases may be, God kept your sister. He kept your mother. He kept your father. So those types of things, that's what gets me through. Journaling. I will journal, and I'm all for journaling. And I tell people, I got back into journaling thanks to Femergy. That was a way for me to communicate. And then I didn't have to worry about somebody telling me my punctuation, my choice of words, or your body language, or this. If I'm in the midst of something and it's a crisis moment, the last thing I'm thinking about is my dictation, my grammar. Is this grammatically correct? Is my spacing, no, I want to just be me, and I want to talk and let me get it out. The best way to do that is in a journal. And then that also helps me be mindful, too, of my support system. If they're going through something, maybe the test and trial that I'm facing right now isn't something that they can be there, doesn't make them any less important or valuable to me. But then I'm not going to them, even though I need you and I love you, but making you feel like I'm dumping on you.
Or if you know they can't handle it.
That, too. And I've come to learn that. So it's okay. Like when I step back, it is okay for me to take those steps back. So I myself am even amazed. Getting to do a fashion show,
She's a model.
I was just at a gym, and a lady was starting her own athletic line, and she had models. I am not model height, although
They're all the heights.
we say that. We want that to be the case, and that's what we're striving and fighting for. But
There's an audience that is your size. So,
well, I'm really 6'1".
I'm sure those heels you are.
You're very short, but I've always said that. Not a Napoleon complex. I just know my heart and my spirit. It makes me even bigger. But she needed more models, and it was just like, oh, well, let's just see if I can do it. So.
And she did it.
And I got to do it. And then from there was a lady that was actually helping us. And I said, I haven't done anything since I was like younger. And it was like church stuff. I did do a beauty pageant in middle school.
See?
My mom put me in one just because my mom was just like, wherever you end up in life, etiquette. I want you to be able to carry and conduct yourself. Whether it's you're a maid, trash person, or you end up in the White House, you marry a president, whatever. I want you to be able to hold your own. But it was also to help me with my self-esteem. So I got to do that. First runner-up. Didn't do any more. That was, for me, I have found in just interacting with people. And so circling back, the gym fashion show, one of the ladies was an actual model and a modeling coach. And she's like, you did really well. And I was like, really? I was like, it might be kind of good to see if I could do this again. And so she told me about a fashion designer that is a very good fashion designer, has been designing over 40 years, was having a show come up. Went for the model call, and I was just like, I don't have any headshots. So then I started looking, how do you do a headshot? And I was like, okay, which one of these selfies that I done took when I was feeling the confidence, which one of these can I, utilize? And so one of the pictures that I had taken just on some downtime, because it's a good relaxing hobby for me, is just taking pictures and playing around with the camera settings on the iPhone, which, believe it or not, the pictures come out pretty amazing compared to me not even having a professional photographer do it or a photographer camera. So I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. Went to the little drugstore, made sure it was the right size, and made sure I had all the information. I utilized it, and I got chosen, and I got to walk for her again. Then just with the other nonprofit organization that I am a member of and an advocate with is Ohio Women Against Domestic Violence. I had been following them and what all they do. And I finally had got in contact with the executive director, and she invited me to the meeting. I had no intentions when I initially went. I had no intentions on that day joining. Let me just go in person and see. And sure enough, God was like, now the next step is to join and be active. So since then, it is just me wanting to make a change and empower young girls and empower women, that I find myself in spaces and opportunities and around amazing group of people that I never would have even imagined 2 years ago.
Right.
And when I have these conversations with them, they're really engaged. And some of the people that I've been able to talk with, they're shocked. Like they're doing the work, but what I've come to see is they do the work. Very rarely can they interact with someone on a human level. They're looking at statistics, they're looking at raw data, they're looking at numbers. But then when you have an individual that's like, hey, and it just comes up in conversation, I went through XYZ, this is what I did, this is who I interacted with, and this is what I was told, then their eyes are opened. And then it's like, how can we become more involved? Like, again, and I'm so grateful, and I just want to say thank you when I got to go to the Women in Network event. And
At Otterbein. Thank you for covering for me, guys. Okay, she did me a favor by going to this event on my behalf, because I was going to the Dominican Republic. I got sick, and I had to change my flight. And the time that I changed that I could was after I already had agreed to go to an event that I really wanted to go. And I was taking Daylene with me. And I was like, who can I ask? And I was like, Erica. If she can do this, it'd be amazing. And you said yes. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Because I appreciate it.
The vice president of students, Mr. Fox, and engaging with him, and then talking about Femergy, he was just like, well, what more can we do? Let us know. Like, and he was, and I know he's new in his role too, but even having some of the conversations and talking to him about the university and their involvement within the community and the student life, I could tell he wasn't prepared for that a little bit. It was like, oh, okay. But again, I'm so grateful. My kids are supportive. They're in awe. My mom, I usually tell her after the fact, and she's like, what? But I'm grateful because we did have a conversation, and my mom said, she said, it's what you're meant to do, and it's time. Because prior to the podcast, my divorce, my losing a child, a lot of things I journaled about, not a lot of people knew about. But I knew it was time, and that's where it comes in, using our voice and not being ashamed or scared of the backlash, which my son was. Well, you speaking up, what's going to happen?
What are people going to think about you? Which at this point, I don't care.
My purpose is, I know what I went through and felt. If I can help a young girl, even the blessing in it, I've had male friends that listened to the other podcast, and one said, oh my God, he said, I almost cried. He said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you went through that. So that's another thing too. We have to be mindful of when we interact with other people. We don't know their story. We don't know their trauma. We don't know their testimony.
You don't.
But I want to use my pain, my hurt, my trauma as something to maybe help someone else.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why when I was thinking about the title for this, I really thought about the power of finding your voice,
Right.
and using it.
Absolutely.
Because it's not enough to find it. You have to find it and you have to use it. So for our people that have been through traumatic things, as we're wrapping up, right?
Yeah.
For people that have gone through traumatic things, my prayer has always been, don't let my brokenness just stay brokenness. Like, I want that to turn into a healing but then I want that to turn into a blessing for me and others, right? And that is my prayer for anyone that has ever been broken and been through something really difficult. Because I think when you meet it very positive and enthusiastic people, many times the reason why I like to say we're like this is because we have been so hurt and so broken. And it took so much to get to this peace and this joy that it is not a fake joy or peace. This is truly something that we embody. Yeah. And we see pain more than anyone probably sees pain in somebody else, and we recognize it, but we also know that hope and joy is possible for them. And that's what we want to do. So the why we started the podcast was that Christina and I felt like we want to talk to the world, millions of people. It's not feasible for us, that's 1 million people, right, in a day-to-day. So we wanted to start the podcast to share not just our story, but also a story of amazing people that maybe you would never get a chance to meet, but you get to hear. Maybe you can connect with that person. Right. So our hope and prayers are that this, whatever, whoever comes to us, whoever sent to this podcast, that they can touch somebody's life. And if it's one life that you touch and inspire, the work is done.
Yes.
To me, now if it touches millions, amazing, but
at least one.
Yes. That is my thing. Leaving the world better than how we found it. And it takes one, So I'm extremely proud of you.
Thank you.
Because of all the work that you have done for yourself. You went from surviving to thriving. And now your children have seen the example. And I think for mothers and fathers, I know sometimes we want to hold it together and not show our kids our struggle. But we do them a disservice when we do this, because then they think that mommy and daddy never been through anything and their life has been so good for them. And when they encounter hardship, they don't know what to do because they never saw you struggle. So one thing that I appreciate about you is that I got to meet your son and I love him. And he will come to the Femergy classes with you and he will sit with me. He will listen to you. And at one point he wanted to participate. So we have to be like, Tony wants to say something.
Yes, he felt like, and he would be like, Mommy, when do we have Femergy? Mommy has Femergy, and he would look confused like, no, we have Femergy.
He'll be ready. I was like, Tony wants to say something, please, one moment. And I love that because your son, which is my prayer for a lot of mothers and sons, is that he got to see mommy and a group of very powerful women at a university. Like we were in a university campus at Adobine, but he got to be part of that. He felt like he was part of that. Yeah. He felt the support, and then he got to see you shine. And kind of come out of your shell a little bit, right?
Oh, a lot of it.
Right?
Not a little bit, a lot of it.
So that is an impression, that was a seed that was planted, right? So now he can see what, a woman is doing, how she becomes this butterfly from this cocoon, right? But then as a man, he can support mommy. So when he becomes a husband one day, if that's his choice, or a father, that's his choice, he has better options that he can make. He has better decisions that he can make because of what has been planted in him. Yes. So that to me is the most beautiful thing. I always think of him. I always think of that moment because it truly helped me. And now that I'm a mother, how did I show my son struggles and how mommy overcomes those struggles? So if I'm no longer one day here, you have a roadmap. You have a blueprint of how to really get through life if mommy's not here, right? Yep. So, I mean, we could talk forever here, right? Because this is amazing. But I want to thank you. I definitely want to bring you back because I know that you're working on really great things.
Thank you.
You are executing your purpose and what God put you in this earth to do. So when you're ready to share those things, we are going to bring you back to share those things with our public, right? We want our audience to see, like, they have already learned a lot about you. Yeah. But then also what's next for Erica, right? And how she gets there. So if you have one piece of advice as we close, one piece of advice for a young Erica, what will you tell her?
Go for it.
Go for it. Don't be afraid. Go for it.
Don't be afraid. And it is okay to walk alone.
All right, you heard it. Oh my goodness. So here at True Print, right, for life, we always close with our mantra. Our mantra is our most favorite thing we like to say because it is the truth here.
Yes.
So together we're going to say this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's bigger than you. Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited and we hope that you follow us on
Instagram, True Print for Life, YouTube channel, also True Print for Life. And make sure that you share, like, watch our videos. Make sure that you follow us on all streaming platforms.